Celtic supporters. If there is one thing football fans understand better than anyone else, it is how quickly the mood around a club can swing. One minute the noise around the team is filled with criticism and frustration, and the next it is pure joy, the kind of emotion that reminds everyone exactly why they fell in love with this club in the first place. And over the past few days, that shift in mood has been absolutely massive around Celtic. Earlier in the week, there had been a lot of negativity floating about. Discussions about performances, debates about certain players, worries about injuries, and the pressure of the title race. But sometimes all it takes is one moment, one match, or even just a few images from a big game to remind the supporters what this team is capable of. And when you go back and look at the pictures from that match at the weekend, the emotion immediately comes flooding back. You can almost feel the energy from the stands just by looking at those moments captured on the pitch. The early stages of the match showed the usual intensity, players battling for every ball, bodies flying into challenges, and that familiar tension that always surrounds these massive fixtures. It is never just another game when Celtic are involved in these encounters. Every tackle matters, every run forward carries meaning, and every supporter in the stadium feels every second of it. Players like Dane were right in the thick of things from the start, charging around the pitch with the kind of relentless energy that Celtic fans have come to expect from him. His style of play perfectly represents the work rate and determination that supporters love to see. Even when the game becomes chaotic, when tackles are flying in and tempers begin to flare, he is still there chasing every ball, as if the entire match depends on that one moment. Elsewhere on the pitch, there were moments that summed up the physical nature of the contest. Midfield battles, players grappling for position, shirts being pulled, arms everywhere. It was the sort of match where strength and determination mattered just as much as technical ability. And when you look back at some of those pictures now, you realize just how intense those moments were. But among all those snapshots from the game, there was one player in particular who has really started to change the conversation among the supporters this season, and that is Dane. The big defender has been quietly building momentum with his performances, and it feels like more and more Celtic fans are starting to recognize the progress he has made. Not too long ago, there were plenty of doubts surrounding him. Some supporters questioned whether he had the level required to become a regular for Celtic. Comparisons were made with other defenders in the squad, and at times he found himself under heavy scrutiny whenever he made a mistake. That is the reality for young players trying to break through at a club with such enormous expectations. But football often rewards those who keep working, and Murray seems to be one of those players who refuses to hide when things go wrong. There was a moment earlier in the season, during a Champions League night away from home, that really said a lot about his mentality. He slipped at the edge of the box during a crucial phase of the match, and the mistake ended up leading to a goal for the opposition. For many young players, a moment like that can be crushing. The cameras capture it, the replays show it again and again, and suddenly the focus is entirely on that error. But what stood out was Murray's reaction. Even before the ball had properly crossed the line, he slammed his hand into the turf in frustration. Not because he was blaming anyone else, but because he knew he had made the mistake, and he was furious with himself. That reaction told supporters everything about his attitude. He cares deeply about his performances, and he clearly understands the standards required when you wear the Celtic shirt. Since then, he has continued to grow, becoming stronger, more confident, and more comfortable in those high-pressure moments. And when you see him now in the middle of those big matches, standing tall in defense, winning challenges, and refusing to be bullied, you can see why opinions about him have started to shift. Football fans may be quick to criticize, but they are also quick to appreciate improvement when a player shows real character. Then, of course, there were the moments that had the entire stadium holding its breath. The tension of a match that refuses to be settled during normal play always builds towards those nerve-wracking penalties. The atmosphere becomes almost unbearable. Every supporter knows that a single kick can define the entire afternoon. When Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain stepped forward for his attempt, there was that familiar silence that always falls over the crowd in those moments. The goalkeeper tries to play mind games. The player takes a deep breath, and then everything happens in a split second. The strike was clean, confident, and it sent the goalkeeper the wrong way as the ball smashed into the back of the net. You could see the reactions immediately. Some players throwing their arms in the air, others barely able to watch the next kick. James Forrest had his head in his hands at one point, a picture that perfectly captured the tension running through the entire Celtic squad. And then came the decisive moment, the one that supporters will replay in their minds again and again. As the winning penalty flew into the net, the stadium exploded with noise. Behind the goal, the faces in the crowd told the whole story. Pure joy, disbelief, laughter, and relief all mixed together in one incredible moment. But one celebration stood out above the rest. While many players instinctively ran towards their teammate who had just scored the decisive kick, Nicholas Kuhn had something else on his mind. Instead of joining the group of players immediately, he turned and sprinted straight towards the supporters. It was a moment that said a lot about the connection between the player and the fans. Maybe he understands just how much these victories mean to the people in the stands. Maybe he realizes that moments like that are what supporters remember forever. Or maybe he simply wanted to share the emotion directly with the crowd that had backed the team throughout the entire match. Either way, the image of him racing towards the Celtic supporters, arms outstretched, soaking in the roar of the crowd, perfectly captured the spirit of that victory. It was the kind of scene that reminds everyone why these matches matter so much. And when you look across the squad celebrating together, with smiles stretching across their faces, you see something else as well. Experience mixed with hunger. Players like James Forrest, who has celebrated so many big moments for this club over the years, still looking just as delighted as if it were his first. That mixture of youth, determination, and experience is what Celtic are relying on as the season continues. Because while that victory brought enormous joy, the reality is that the challenges are far from over. The team is dealing with injuries in key areas, especially in midfield, and the next few weeks could play a massive role in shaping the direction of the campaign. One of the biggest concerns has been the absence of Arne Engels. The midfielder might not always grab headlines with spectacular moments, but his influence on the team has been significant. His delivery from set pieces has been a real weapon throughout the season, and his presence in the middle of the park adds balance to the entire side. Without him, Celtic have had to adjust, and that adjustment has not always been easy. Midfield is the engine room of any team, and when key players are missing, the rhythm of the side can suffer. The hope now is that the upcoming international break could provide just enough time for some of those injured players to recover and return to action. From what has been suggested, Engels is not expected to be back before the international window arrives toward the end of March. That means the squad will need to navigate the next fixtures without him, relying on others to step up and fill that gap in the center of the pitch. It is not just Engels either. There are other players working their way back towards fitness, and supporters will be watching closely to see who might be ready to return once that break in the schedule arrives. Every additional option could prove crucial as the matches continue to come thick and fast in the closing stages of the season. And with important league games approaching, Celtic know they cannot afford to lose momentum now. The next match against Motherwell is already looming, and it presents another opportunity to strengthen their position near the top of the table while waiting for those injured players to return. The challenge for Celtic over the next stretch is not only about winning matches. It is also about managing the squad carefully while key figures remain unavailable. When a player like Callum McGregor is missing, the entire structure of the team feels different. He is the type of midfielder who quietly controls the tempo of a game, always offering an option for a pass, always organizing the shape of the side when possession changes. Without him, others must take on that responsibility, and that is never an easy adjustment in the middle of an intense title race. There is real hope among the supporters that the international break at the end of March could arrive at exactly the right moment. It might sound strange to say that a pause in the season is welcome, but when injuries begin to stack up, that short window can make a massive difference. Players get a chance to recover properly, medical staff can push forward with rehabilitation, and suddenly the squad starts to look stronger again. For Arne Engels, the expectation is that he will not return before that break arrives. The coaching staff appear to be taking a cautious approach, ensuring that he has enough time to recover fully rather than rushing him back into action too early. In a long season, patience with injuries often proves to be the smarter decision, even if it means navigating a few difficult matches in the meantime. Another name that has been mentioned as potentially returning around the same period is Callum Osamand. His absence has also been felt, especially when the team has needed fresh energy in attacking areas. Celtic supporters always love to see young or emerging players stepping up when the opportunity arrives, and there is growing curiosity about how he might influence the squad once he is back available. When you look at the calendar, the international fixtures scheduled toward the end of March could have an interesting impact on the Celtic squad as well. Several players will be traveling to represent their countries, and that always adds another layer of uncertainty. Sometimes those international matches provide confidence and momentum for players, but they can also bring fatigue or even the risk of further injuries. Among the international fixtures during that period, there are several notable matches involving European national teams. Encounters like Italy against Northern Ireland and Wales taking on Bosnia will draw plenty of attention, while other matches such as Ukraine against Sweden and Poland facing Albania will also be part of that busy international schedule. There are additional contests featuring Turkey and Romania, Slovakia and Kosovo, Denmark against North Macedonia, and the Czech Republic playing against the Republic of Ireland. Whenever those international weeks arrive, supporters of clubs like Celtic watch them with mixed emotions. On one hand, there is pride in seeing players represent their countries on the big stage. On the other hand, there is always that slight anxiety about whether everyone will return healthy and ready for the next round of domestic fixtures. While those international games are being played, Celtic will be keeping a close eye on the recovery timelines of the players currently on the treatment table. The big question supporters continue to ask is simple. Will the international break provide enough time for the injured players to come back stronger for the final stretch of the season? Before that break arrives, however, Celtic still have important league business to take care of. The upcoming match against Motherwell is already being viewed as a crucial step in maintaining momentum. These are the types of fixtures where concentration becomes vital. Matches against determined opponents can quickly become complicated if the performance level drops, even slightly. Motherwell are a side that never makes things easy, particularly when they sense an opportunity to challenge a team dealing with injuries. Celtic will need to approach the match with the same intensity and focus that carried them through the previous weekend's dramatic victory. At the same time, supporters will be watching the other fixtures around the league table very carefully. This stage of the season is when every point begins to feel heavier, and even small slips by rival clubs can have a massive impact on the title race. There are several interesting matches scheduled across the same round of fixtures. Aberdeen face Falkirk, Hibernian take on Livingston, and there is a particularly intriguing encounter involving Kilmarnock traveling to play Hearts. That match could prove to be one of the most competitive of the weekend. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. The corridors of Celtic FC have been buzzing with anticipation after confirmation that the club's new striker is finally set to make his first appearance in green and white. Supporters have been waiting for a glimpse of the forward since his arrival, and the decision by manager Martin O'Neill to include him in the squad has only intensified the speculation surrounding the team's next chapter. Inside Parkhead, the feeling is that this debut could signal more than just the introduction of another attacking option. O'Neill has built a reputation for bold calls, but even seasoned observers were surprised by how quickly the manager has decided to trust the newcomer. Training ground whispers suggest the striker has impressed with sharp movement and a natural eye for goal, convincing the coaching staff that he may be ready to handle the pressure that comes with leading the line for one of Scotland's biggest clubs. Yet the excitement surrounding the debut has been matched by a growing sense of uncertainty elsewhere in the squad. Alongside the news of the new attacker's introduction, rumors of a potential departure have begun circulating among supporters and pundits alike. The identity of the player linked with an exit has not been formally confirmed, but talk around the club suggests that changes in the attacking hierarchy could be pushing someone closer to the door. For many fans, the timing of the speculation is intriguing. The arrival of a new striker often reshapes dressing room dynamics, particularly at a club where competition for places is fierce. If the newcomer lives up to expectations, it could alter the balance of O'Neill's forward options and force difficult decisions about who stays and who moves on. Within the stands, the mood is a mixture of curiosity and cautious excitement. Celtic supporters have seen promising signings arrive before, but every debut carries its own story. The manager's willingness to make a decisive move has only added fuel to the narrative that something is shifting behind the scenes. Whether the striker's first appearance becomes the beginning of a new attacking era or simply another chapter in Celtic's long tradition of striking talent remains to be seen. What is certain is that the debut has already sparked conversation across Glasgow, and the whispers about a possible exit ensure that the spotlight on O'Neill's squad will remain firmly in place. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.